You're tuned in to Ask the Master Auto Technician. Car questions? Get answers right now. Call 850-763-0555.
James Auto Center, we fix it right, guaranteed. Beep, 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 yeah!
All right, good morning, everybody. It's Wednesday morning. It's not bright yet, but it's going to be there in a few minutes. You know, the elections are all over. We've got a new president out there. We've got a new county commissioner. We've got a new tax appraiser. We've
Collector.
Tax
collector.
What did I say? Tax appraiser?
Yes,
yeah,
okay.
Tax collector. Yeah. Anyway, tax collector. Congratulations to all that have won, and to those that have lost. Life goes on. You know, you get your life back, so to speak, because that's kind of the way I look at it. You know, I get to do what I do best. That's work on cars, take care of customers, take care of things I got around here. You know, at this stage of my life, I should be looking for a nice, easy chair. I don't know if I'm going to do that, but I'm going to stay busy in my community, and I'm going to make sure that I speak up when I see things that I don't think are right. And I think that's the duty of all citizens to do that, and you don't need to run for office to do that. It's a lot more fun to be an activist than it is to be a politician.
Absolutely.
Because a politician, you have to make sure you say certain things, and if you say something wrong, they're going to hold your feet to the fire. But being an activist, sometimes you can just, whatever comes across your mind, you can say, and no one's going to hold your feet to the fire unless you say something totally out of line. But pretty much, you can have a lot more fun doing this and get a lot more accomplished. And so I'm going to continue to stay busy in my community, like I said. And one of the things I like to do is help people get their cars fixed. I'm a mechanic. I fix things. I find problems and give solutions to problems out there that a lot of times people don't understand how to go about it systematically.
Oh, and don't we have a problem in the shop today?
Boy, you talk about the Jaguar?
Yes.
A Jaguar. We have a Jaguar 2008 Jaguar. It's been to 3 or 4 shops. And the complaint is when they drive it, the pedal kicks back on the accelerator pedal, the traction control light comes on. It sets a code for a steering wheel angle sensor. Well, they've gone to the shops, they've changed the steering angle sensor, they've changed that, and it still has the same problem. And they've changed a couple more parts, a clock spring, it still has the same problem. So after $1,000 or so worth of parts, and labor, it still has the same problem. And so my guys, we all looked at it and said, okay, here's what's going on. We need to verify that this sensor is working properly. So we went to the sensor, checked it out, we see it's working properly. And I said, okay, so we know the sensor's working properly, so are the wires working like they're supposed to? So we get the schematic out, we follow the wires where it goes to the ABS computer. This is where this goes to the analog computer. Now in this model car, everything goes through the anti-lock brakes. If that analog brake computer is not plugged in, nothing starts. The car won't start, nothing works. Windows won't go up, nothing works. Incredible. You wouldn't think an ABS computer does that, but it does to it. Everything on this car seems to work fine except that problem. And when that problem is revealed, and it reveals right when you start moving the car, so long as you go straight, you don't have any problem. But once you move the steering wheel, it sets that code. Now, so we looked at it and said, okay, so how do we make sure? So we checked the wires out. First, we made sure there was continuity, and there was continuity. So we know that's good. So we wanted to make sure we're getting a wave pattern. Are we getting, because this is all looking at a wave pattern that's being produced when we turn the steering wheel left or turn it right. It looks like a gear inside the steering wheel, like a tone ring, like a gear. And as it turns around, it tells the computer, you know, where you were from center, how many degrees you've gone this way or how many degrees you've gone this way. That way it can correct the what they call the yaw sensor inside there. It can say, okay, this car is going to the left, it's going to the right. We need to let off on the brake or add brake to keep the car under control. That's part of the traction control system. It all works together by looking at which wheels have traction, which wheels don't have traction, and it also looks at the steering wheel direction, which way the car is going. Also, the inertia that the car is moving. Is the car moving forward? Is it moving sideways? Is it, you know, what's going on? It takes all that in consideration and makes split-second decisions to get the car under control. Well, this isn't working. Something's not working. So after we check everything out, we come to the conclusion that, yep, that computer is either faulty because it's either got a faulty program in it or the computer itself is faulty. Now, everything seems to work on this car. Everything seems to work. I suspect it's got a corrupted program inside it. I don't think the computer is faulty.
I mean, it could be
It
a bad
could be.
solder joint.
It
I
could
mean,
be,
you know.
but I kind of doubt it. I kind of doubt that's the problem with it because the car's only got 38,000 miles on it. It's 2008
Yeah,
model.
but it lives at the beach.
Well, it lives. Where does it live at? I thought it lived in Apalachicola.
Yeah, yeah.
And point being is, we're looking at it going. So this is what we're going to reprogram this car. My cost to be able to reprogram it, to buy the program to do it, is around $700 to $800 just to be able to get the program to reprogram this computer correctly. And there's still no guarantee that'll fix it. There isn't. So I have to call the customer and say, here's what we have found out. If I reprogram it, spend the $700 to $800 to reprogram it, and it doesn't fix the car, I'm out this kind of money. But if it doesn't fix the car, you need to buy a $5,000+ computer. That's a lot of money. It really is. So my recommendation to the customer is please take this car back to the dealership up in Tallahassee. Let them, but they've got the program already loaded on their computer. All they've got to do is they bought the yearly subscription. They say pay several $1,000s for it to get it. If I buy it, I can only buy it for a week at a time. And if I buy the program, do everything I'm supposed to do with it, we're talking a lot of money. And I am not going to take a loss on that. So in being in business, in order to make sure I treat the customer right and say, here's what we have found. My advice is take it back to the dealership, which wherever that may be. I think it's in Tallahassee is the closest Jaguar dealership, and have them reprogram it first. Once the computer's reprogrammed, let's see, there may be a patch for it. I can't find anything on the internet that says there's a patch for it or there's a reprogramming. I cannot find anything. But when you're dealing with something this expensive, sometimes it's best to bring it back to the dealership, especially if you don't have the program at your fingertips to do what needs to be done. And this is how we take care of Ford, Chevy, Chrysler, Hondas, you name it. Just about every car out there with the exception of Mercedes, BMW, and Jaguar, and Volvo, I can reprogram relatively easy and relatively inexpensive. We're not talking $700, $800. When I have to start dealing with BMW, Mercedes, Jaguar, they get rather expensive because all their information is proprietary. They do not want to give it away inexpensively. You can purchase it, but you've got to have the hardware to install it. You've got to have the training and the software to be able to accept it and to put it into the vehicle. So if you do have a problem with a car, just because you've got a problem with a module does not necessarily mean the module is faulty. That's one of the things I try to tell people. Just because you've got a check engine light, that doesn't mean that part's bad.
Yeah, I was going to say Chrysler recommends before you do any kind of repairs on a drivability issue or
anything on a Chrysler
to do a reprogram first.
And I'm glad you brought that out. That's exactly what I'm going to tell the customer. I'm going to say, please, drive it to the dealership. It'll drive to the dealership. You just won't have traction control. Drive it there, have them look at it, see if they can do the latest, greatest update program. I believe there's a patch for it, and that patch will probably take care of it. If I'm right, we're going to save the customer several $1,000s. If I'm wrong, well, the customer is going to have to fix it and still buy that expensive module.
Unfortunately, or fortunately, we didn't break it.
I didn't buy the car. It's not my car. I didn't break it. I don't own it. And when you're driving a $70,000 car, it is not uncommon to have very expensive bills on repairs. Give you an example: the 6.4 or 6.0 liter diesel that's made by Power Stroke, 6.0, 6.4, and 6.7. We're talking about $70,000 to $80,000 trucks. When those trucks break or something goes wrong with the engine, a lot of times, in order to repair what's on the engine, you have to remove the cab of the truck. Literally pick the cab of the truck off the frame of the car, do your work that you have to do to the car engine, put the engine back together correctly, then lower the body down on top of the frame and buckle it all back up again. I know it sounds hard to believe. The average bill on some of these trucks is around $3,000 to $4,000 when you're doing any work whatsoever on them, especially a 6.4. The 6.7s, they say they're a little bit easier to work on. I haven't seen too many of those coming through my shop with problems yet. The 6.0s were loaded with problems, and so were the 6.4s. If people ask me all the time, what diesel would you have if you were going to buy a Ford? And I'd say an old 7.3 Power Stroke before, a fuel-injected Power Stroke, electronic fuel-injected Power Stroke, like a 2002 model, 2003, before they went to the 6.0. That's what I would get. I would get the 7.3 Power Stroke. It's a very good engine, very dependable. It's easy to work on, relatively easy to work on, and inexpensive to work on compared to the other engines. That's what I tell people. Remember, when you buy a car, it's going to be an expensive car. No matter what happens, things break on cars. You're going to have repairs done on them in order to take care of them. So remember, when you buy a car, make sure you have someone that has the ability to reprogram them. If you live in a place that doesn't have a dealership or the ability to reprogram a Jaguar or a Land Rover, a Mazda, not a Mazda, a Mercedes or BMW or Volvo, you might want to reconsider possibly buying one of these cars if you don't have any place that can service them and take care of them. I can do just about every car up there at my shop, other than I can do Jaguar, I can do them, but it's relatively expensive to reprogram them. Same thing now, Mercedes, BMW, I don't even attempt to do them because they're very, very special. I send them, let Henry's do the reprogramming on the beach. He bought the equipment for that. I'll let him do that. He sends me other cars that he can't do, and we work that way together in taking care of our customers. So if you've got a car question, you want to know a little bit more about why I got a check engine light on and I've been trying to fix this and they've done this, they've done this, they've done this, and they've done this, maybe I can give you another route to go about it, because a lot of times before we even start working on a vehicle, we literally spend hours just researching what could be the problem, getting all the information we can from the vehicle, from taking codes and doing a complete system analyst, finding out what we're seeing wrong with it, what codes keep coming back, look at the freeze frame data when the codes were set, what caused it to happen. And then we go to a computer and we sit down and we take all this information and we put it in our database and we try to pull out where other people have had the same exact problem, hopefully somewhere in the world. Sometimes you get a hold of those that you've never, like this Jaguar, that you don't have anyone that's ever had this kind of problem. That's why I believe it's got a corrupt software. Not so much the computer's faulty, because everything seems to be working. It just doesn't want to read that steering wheel positioning sensor for some reason. It doesn't want to read it. That's why I think the software is corrupt. I think once they go in there and they reprogram it to the latest, greatest programming, I think the problem will go away. But that's just an idea. But you don't want to tell a customer, look, I want to do this, and then have them on the hook for $700, $800 that didn't fix anything. Unless the customer understands that's a chance they got to take. So anyway, if you got a car question, give us a call, 850. I got about a minute left before I have to go into our breakout there. Give me a call at 850-763-0555. That's what we get up every morning for and come on right after Panhandle Outdoors, is to help people that have to work for a living, that maybe do their own work on their car. Maybe they want to do a brake job. We see a lot of people that want to do brake jobs, and they try to do a good job, but the most important thing about brakes is make sure you buy quality parts. Don't buy the cheapest parts. Don't buy the most expensive sometimes, because sometimes that's not made for the car either. But make sure you get the original equipment type, rotors and pads and hardware. Failure to get the right type of pads to go with the rotors on the vehicle and get a matching set of rotors. A lot of people just throw pads on there. Don't do that. Do it right, or just don't do it. When you do a brake job on the front of a vehicle, the minimum is change the hardware, change the rotors or cut the rotors. In most cases, it's cheaper to replace the rotors with brand new ones. Put quality pads on there. Make sure you lubricate all the contact points on where the pad fits in the rotor and where it fits into the caliper bracket and where the caliper touches it. Make sure you lubricate that to keep it from making that squealing noise, and make sure you wash your rotors with hot soapy water before you put it all together. Failure to do that, you'll end up contaminating the pads and spending a lot of money needlessly to have to do the job over again. Hey, this is James Morris. We'll be right back. Give us a call, 850-763-0555.
James Auto Center, we fix it right, guaranteed. Beep, 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 yeah.